Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei, coming to you live from Beijing on CGTN. Coming up on today's program, breaking news. U.S. President Donald Trump appoints CIA Director Mike Pompeo as the new Secretary of State, replacing Rex Tillerson. What could this mean for U.S. foreign policy? Angela Merkel is on her way to a rare fourth term as German Chancellor, thanks to a long-negotiated coalition between her conservatives and center-left Social Democrats. Could the fourth time be a charm? And in tonight's Straight Talk, we get direct answers on what it takes to be one of China's tech titans from NetEase founder and CEO, CPPCC member Ding Lei. We begin our program with the latest change in the Trump administration. Breaking news coming in. U.S. President Donald Trump has replaced Secretary of State Rex Tillerson on Tuesday. Mr. Trump thanked Tillerson for his service in the Twitter post. CIA Director Mike Pompeo will be appointed the new Secretary of State, whom the U.S. President said in his tweet would do, quote, a fantastic job. CIA Deputy Director Gina Haswell will become the spy agency's new chief, whom Trump tweeted as the first woman to hold the post. For more on this, we are joined by Mr. Wang Yiwei, who is the Jean Monnet Chair Professor of Renmin University and the Director of the Center for European Studies. In Boston, we are joined by Jim Walsh, Professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Also joining us, we have also some of the other comments possibly in the program. Let me come to you, Mr. Wang. Your quick response to the news.
Well, the rumors come true.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. I think maybe President Trump wants to change the situation because of the many hectic relations with his partners, particularly the trade war. And also, they want to make a deal with Kim Jong-un, of the DPRK leader. So many of the things that the new thinking, they're more efficient, want to solve this problem. They want to change the situation that the United States is facing in the world.
All right. And what about you, Mr. Walsh? The news.
Well, yes. Well, it's a surprise. It's sort of like death. You expect it. But when it finally happens, you're surprised when you wake up and read the news. I guess it solves one of the puzzles that was in my mind from last couple of weeks. You had Ambassador Jo Yoon, Special Representative of the State Department to North Korea, resigning, and then virtually the next week, the president saying he wants to talk to North Korea. Why would a diplomat in charge of talking to North Korea resign when the U.S. is just about to begin that dialogue? And the answer, obviously, is that the president had lost all faith in Rex Tillerson and in the State Department. He's been meeting with Pompeo. Pompeo is the person who gives the president his briefing, intelligence briefing. They obviously established a strong relationship.
Right.
And so without much pomp or circumstance, the president dismissed Tillerson with a tweet, not very professional in my view.
Let me ask you here, Mr. Walsh. It is no secret that the president has different opinions from Mr. Tillerson. Mr. Tillerson has been regarded by the president as, quote, the establishment, or too much establishment. Meanwhile, the two have different opinions on several issues. DPRK issue, Iran issue, Middle East issue, as well as climate change issue. These are crucial issues facing the United States. The two have very different opinions. The question is, the next one in the post, is that going to be very different when it comes to the opinions and the roadmaps?
Absolutely. It's going to be a dramatic difference. And so not only are our views different, the relationship is different. Mr. Pompeo is from one of the most conservative states in the United States, Kansas. He was a Tea Party member. He has called for regime change in North Korea. He is in favor of ripping up the Iran agreement. And this morning, as the president was getting on Air Force One, he mentioned his disagreement with Tillerson on the Iran agreement as one of the factors leading to his firing. So I think two things are happening. You're getting a much more conservative, much more hawkish person as an advisor, and then secondly, that hawkish advisor has a much closer relationship to the president. That's a big change.
Having said that, though, a lot of these issues have to do with China as well. Being the second largest economy, there's a trade issue China and the United States need to work out, and that involves international relations, foreign policy. Secondly, there's also the DPRK issue, in which China, from the very beginning, as a part of the six-party talks, and certainly a crucial player in getting all parties to talk to one another. When we are reaching the possibility of Trump meeting Kim, the Secretary of State has been sacked. So, Mr. Wang, what do you think China, as a result, would bear in mind, given the personnel change going on right now?
As the number one, number two world economy in the world, the relations between the United States and China, I think we need the certainty, of course. Now we are facing many challenges, the trade war. So this changes the position, of course. The Minister of Trade maybe it's more in handle of the issues with China, and then the Secretary of State maybe play more important roles to hand over all the troubles that President Trump make the relations with the world, and they need maybe more intelligent guy to deal with so-called sharp power with from Russia, even they think about it from China. So they negotiate with the North Korea side. They need more the experts in intelligence analysis.
But when you think about that, Mr. Walsh, the Secretary of State, Mr. Tillerson, has never been really that involved because he and the President have very different opinions when it comes to how to approach to the North Koreans. So at this point, do you see there's going to be policy change from the Trump White House toward the possible relations with the DPRK?
Well, I think Mr. Pompeo will support the president's desire to have a meeting. My concern, though, is if the summit goes poorly, Mr. Pompeo will be in a position to whisper into the president's ears in favor of the bloody nose strategy or in favor of the use of military force. So I think that could end up going very poorly, if you ask me. In other words, he will support negotiations because the president wants negotiations. But if those negotiations don't go well, he will be advocating the use of military force, which I think is a really bad idea. And on China, Pompeo has said different things. He has said that China is a threat on the same level of Russia. He also praised China for the help for its actions on North Korea. So I think his views about China are a mixed bag.
On the other hand, you are also seeing, Mr. Walsh, the shuffling or reshuffling of members of the White House over the past few weeks. You talk about the State Department personnel change when it comes to Korean issue. Now we have the Secretary of State. Earlier you got the special advisor, the John Kushner, and also today personal advisor for the president also was being sacked, being taken away actually from the White House. You also have earlier resignation coming from the communication director of the White House. You also have from the social media of the White House as well. So you see a long list of people who are resigning. Many of these people have been with President Trump when he was candidate Trump. So how should we understand this whole line change or change of lineup of the current White House and even of the current key positions in the Trump administration?
Well, I don't think this is going to stop, by the way. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how long National Security Advisor McMaster lasts here. But this shifting of constant exodus, shifting of personnel, it produces chaos. It undermines the policymaking process because people are new, people with experience have left. People don't know who's who or who's responsible for what. So I don't think it's very, I think some change is inevitable in any administration, but a constant churning of senior level people is probably not good. I would say number two, and finally, this creates an opportunity for Mr. Pompeo to have outsized influence. If everything and everyone around the president is changing and he doesn't have people he really has strong personal feelings for, I could imagine that Mr. Pompeo could step into the breach and have even more influence.
All right.
Given that chaos.
But whether he will have that much power or influence is an issue of debate, and probably we need to see. Before we go, Mr. Walsh, a final question for you. We see this power struggle between this White House, particularly between President Trump and the so-called establishment of the Republican Party. As we are approaching the midterm election in the United States, that power struggle is becoming ever more fearful. So here's the thing. With the sack of Secretary of State, which is usually a significant figure representing the so-called establishment of the Republican Party, what does that mean, this power struggle between Trump and the so-called establishment?
Well, I think it's definitely taken a hard turn. Mr. Trump is going to be in a much more permissive environment. Tillerson, McMaster, and Mattis were always counseling more moderation. Now one of the two is gone. I expect a second of the two to be gone. And in their place are people who are much more aggressive. And so the president's going to be in an environment where his aggressive tendencies are going to be supported, not constrained. All
right. We want to thank you, Jim Walsh, coming from the MIT, joining us from the security programs over there, and Mr. Wang Yiwei. Mr. Wang, you want to stay with us for future discussion on our program today. And thank you, Jim, for your input. You're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei, on the breaking news that the U.S. President Donald Trump just sacked the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. We'll be back after this. And now let's turn to Berlin, where German Chancellor Angela Merkel declared that it's finally time to start work as Germany's new government prepares to take office. The parliament is set to elect Ms. Merkel to a fourth term on Wednesday. Let's take a closer look at German politics.
The fourth term. Almost 6 long months after Germans went to the polls, Angela Merkel eventually built up her cabinet as German Chancellor. Ms. Merkel's Christian Democratic Union, its Bavaria-owned sister party, the Christian Social Union, and the center-left Social Democrats signed their coalition agreement on Monday. The new Grand Coalition of Germany's biggest parties is a rerun of the Grand Coalition that has governed Germany since 2013.
We have a lot of work ahead of us, and all of us have the feeling that it's about time to start work.
Since the elections in September, Germany's parties have struggled to form a coalition government. Ms. Merkel has been only a caretaker chancellor after October. Last November, her attempt to forge an alliance with the pro-business Free Democrats and the environmentalist Greens collapsed, which plunged Europe's largest economy into uncharted political waters. Last week, the Social Democrats, the country's second-largest party, voted in favor of a coalition with the Chancellor's Conservatives, ending the uncertainty. The Social Democrats named finance and foreign ministers in the new government.
The fourth grand coalition in Germany didn't start as a marriage of love. CDU, CSU and SPD are, despite their differences, in a position to work constructively together and govern decently.
French President Emmanuel Macron welcomed the prospect of a new government led by Ms. Merkel. The German leader said she would quickly visit Paris to discuss EU reform proposals.
When we talk about Europe, we notice that the great tasks, starting with climate change and fair trade, as well as fighting migration, cannot be solved by one country alone, even not by a country like Germany. We need Europe, a Europe that shares our values and acts unilaterally.
However, there are many other unresolved issues awaiting the new government, both inside and outside Europe, such as the influx of refugees and new U.S. tariffs. Ms. Merkel is left with little choice but to deal with the difficulties in her new term.
For Merkel's fourth term and Germany's politics. Let's turn to our panel. We have quite a strong one in Beijing. Once again, Mr. Wang Yiwei, Zhang Wenlei Chair, Professor of Renmin University, joining us. And he is also the Director of Center for European Studies. In Berlin, Germany, we have Dr. Matteo Garavaglia, who is a Research Associate at the Center for International Studies with the Department of Politics and International Relations, University of Oxford. Joining us in Brussels, we have Peter Klepp, head of the Brussels office of Open Europe. Gentlemen, welcome to our program. A lot going on over there. Grand coalition. How possible is it, Mr. Garavaglia?
There's a lot going on indeed, and this is certainly no marriage of love. The two parties, the two main parties, the Social Democrats and the Conservatives, had to come together because no coalition could be formed together by the Conservatives together with the Greens and the Liberals. They have put Europe at the very beginning of their coalition agreement. Europe has its front page when it comes to the coalition agreement. The question is whether they will be able to give substance to this wish to push Europe forward. There are lofty ambitions, but the question is how to move it forward in pragmatic, practical terms.
Great question. On that question, it also has to do with what is going on outside Germany, mainly the relations between Germany and France and Germany and some of the other important countries in the EU. What do you think, Mr. Klepp, about that picture? And how much will that have an impact on the eventual form of the coalition?
There's been a lot of talk on the agenda of French President Emmanuel Macron to concentrate more money and more power at the Eurozone level. Now, what has basically happened is that France is more and more isolated because also after the Italian elections, many countries are simply not happy to cede more powers to the central Eurozone level. And if you actually look at it, since 2010, this has been the attempted solution to try to make the Eurozone more stable. And this has not been very successful, which is why more and more opposition has been brewing against it. Now also more openly coming from a group around the Netherlands, which includes some Scandinavian and some Baltic countries. Now, as a result of that, Merkel and Macron will not come up yet with a common grand plan.
I see.
And of course also within Germany there's a lot of opposition.
Talking about Germany, I do want to come
French
to
ideas.
Professor Wang here as well. Professor Wang, given what is happening right now, it seems that Madam Chancellor is coming back again.
But it's not the original Merkel anymore.
Not anymore.
So this is not so strong. Firstly, her party actually lost their election, so the result is Merkel, I think, the improvement within the party is also very low compared to the previous time. And secondly, half a year to organize this coalition, this also damaged the reputation. And because of so many headache issues now to be solved, led by Germany before the European Union, or domestically, I think their first term, even people worry about whether can she survive the first term, maybe the resigning before.
But of course, the things are getting quite promising. For example, Mr. Garavaglia, the SPD is getting hold of the position of the finance, foreign affairs, as well as labor. Those are key positions. So how much strong support will this provide to this chancellor for her comeback again?
Sure. I think we have two issues we have to look at. The SPD has secured key positions in government. So this is a chancellor government, a Chancellor Merkel's government in name, but in reality the SPD, the Social Democrats, play a key role, much more so than they did in the past. Also, when we look at domestic politics, Germany finds itself in the lucky position, in the lucky situation of having a budget surplus. There is money to spend that Germany can pump into infrastructure, into a digital agenda, in kicking off the economy and moving forward and modernizing the economy. Whilst, and the SPD, the Social Democrats, will push for that. At the same time, when we look at the European dimension, the Social Democrats have been traditionally far more ready than the Conservatives to also seek to reform the Eurozone and to kickstart the broader European economy. Here they will have to tread on a line, so to speak, because the Social Democrats will want to push for this, but at the same time they cannot come across as the party that is ready to give German money away to the rest of Europe. This would never fly with German citizens. So they will have to, you know, play a difficult game there.
A difficult game, but will Brussels be willing to accept the reality of that difficult game? Mr. Klepp, briefly.
I think what Merkel will have to focus on in her new term is to basically clean up some of the damage that she has been doing previously. Domestically, there is the big energy change that has driven up the prices of energy. Of course, we had the migration chaos, and the question to what extent she can now tolerate family reunification. And there's Brexit. Merkel has been not been very open to the EU complaints over the years to reform the EU, and this was one extra factor that contributed to Brexit. And now a lot of our efforts will actually have to go to making sure that Brexit does not lead to disruption for citizens and for businesses.
It seems that, Mr. Garibaldi, the situation is quite complicated. There seems to be a lot of collateral damages going on within the EU. Germany certainly play a role of that. First of all, you got difficulty at the very beginning, coalition government. Now it seems that it's promising that something could be done. Secondly, you also got, as said, Brexit. Thirdly, the German and France had never be able to play the role that they used to play when it comes to the influence of the EU. Fourthly, you also got the relationship between Washington and Brussels, Washington and the key European capitals getting ever farther away. So what can be done about this thing, and what would it mean for a Germany election and Germany's role inside the EU?
Then briefly to touch upon the 3 points you made. When it comes to Brexit, I do not expect major shifts in the government's position. Across the political spectrum, all German political parties are very clear. They will stand firm to protect the European single market, the common market, and they will have a rather tough, strong position vis-à-vis the United Kingdom. There I don't expect any major shifts. When it comes to the relationship with the United States, of course, things are challenging there. President Trump is a little bit on the rampage when it comes to trade policies and talking about tariffs and nurturing a protectionist agenda. There, Germany will be doing, it's already doing two things indeed. On the one hand, we'll be pushing for Brussels and the European Union as a whole to take a very strong, firm stand vis-à-vis the United States. The European Union is the single largest trading bloc in the world. It has all the strength it needs to push back against the United States if necessary, and Brussels is ready to do that with Berlin behind. The other thing that Berlin is doing, and I think that's particularly interesting, Berlin has been nurturing now for a number of months, and especially since President Trump took over in the United States, an increasingly close and meaningful relationship with Beijing, with China. Germany has become, in many respects, the first port of call for China in Europe.
We have to go for now, but thank you so much for the three of you for helping us understand the latest situation. I'm sure more to come. Wang Yiwei, Matteo Garibaldi, Peter Klepp, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us. You're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei, still to come on our program. He rose to fame and fortune as NetEase founder and CEO, a tech and livestock empire that made billions. CPPCC member Ding Lei tells his story and about the power of the internet in tonight's Straight Talk right after this break. Welcome back. You're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Now let's go to Straight Talk. That's both the name and the style of our exclusive interview series featuring big names coming from all walks of life in China. A person, a talk, a day during the ongoing political season. Today, let's meet Ding Lei, a CPPCC member this year, and also founder and CEO of NetEase.com. He founded NetEase in 1997 and became the richest individual in the Chinese mainland in 2003, thanks in part to investment in various ventures like online PC and mobile games, email services, e-commerce, and a music streaming service. The company has grown rapidly. Surprisingly, in 2009, Ding branched out NetEase activities into pork production, which centered on green technology and environmental sustainability. As his first year of being a CPPCC member, one of China's tech giants said that the internet is the best manifestation of a global community with a shared future. President Ding, welcome to CGTN.
Thank you.
Congratulations as a new CPPCC member.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you like it so far?
我希望能够在下来的5年
I hope in the next 5 years I can take more responsibility, making a contribution to the good of our country.
尽自己的一份力。
China has already entered into a new era, a new time. Everyone has their own plan. What is your interpretation of this new era to you and to your industry?
我对中国的
I am full of confidence in the future development of China, especially seen from this year's government work report. Our government pays close attention to each industry and every livelihood issue. They also do everything possible to find ways to create a good and creative environment, which is good for business. You can see that our government used 3 words: open, supervise, and serve to describe their current policies. They seek to lower the threshold for the development of enterprises, strengthen supervision over them, and build a service-oriented government. So if we pursue these policies, there will be more outstanding, innovative enterprises.
NetEase is trying to relist on the Chinese market. It is one of the tech giants that's coming back from overseas listing to the Chinese market. What is behind your decision? How do you see the prospect?
I think this is a government for support China local company. 18 years ago, we listed in NASDAQ. But you know, the overseas investors, they are not our user member. You know, market is focused in NetEase market is focused in China, and almost every Chinese is our users. So when we came back to China, we think Chinese people can be our shareholder. This is a very lucky thing. I think they will do a dual list system. Like our share in overseas is ADR, in China is we do list maybe CDR. So I think this is government support local company list in local stock exchange.
How do you see the competitiveness of Chinese tech firms like yours and some of the other big names, internationally speaking?
其实我认为
In fact, I think Chinese high-tech companies are very good at innovation. I can say, without humility, you are definitely a world leader in the development of mobile games. In China, not only games, but also payment, shared bikes, and takeaways, which are far ahead compared to the rest of the world.
Talking about overseas, you have allocated 2 billion yuan, RMB, as a fund in order to acquire and buy out some of the video game companies as well as VR companies overseas.
Included.
Yes. So how does that work with your performance here in China and also your outreach to the rest of the world?
其实 we
must also recognize that there are many small companies in the world doing well in innovation. We need to work together with them to make progress. So we have established a 2 billion yuan investment fund to put in businesses related to future industries such as VR and VR games.
Chinese President Xi Jinping said we need to have a community of shared future. In a way, it seems that you and your colleagues in the high-tech world are trying to work exactly in that direction. That is going for doing your business not only for China, but also elsewhere, and incorporating technologies coming from all over the world.
其实互联网就是人类命运共同体的最好一种表现形式。
In fact, the Internet is the best manifestation of a community with shared future. Because it is open and shared, you can see that 20 or 30 years ago, many people shared their ideas on the Internet. The current e-commerce is also globalized. You can buy things on Amazon.com and they can be shipped to China. Americans can also buy things on Chinese websites and they can be shipped to the US. So, I very much agree with the concept of a community with shared future. Countries should be open. But I've seen that compared to some Western countries, for example, the UK's Brexit and the US's trade protectionism, China makes the right choice. We're pursuing the Belt and Road Initiative, sharing the results of reform and opening up with other countries. For example, our high-speed rail is far ahead than the rest of the world. So are games. And I'm willing to share these results with the world.
Where is the trend? I mean, if you look at the competition, Alibaba has been putting more money into marketing and sales than even R&D. And that's going to be a huge challenge to any other country when it comes to the amount of funds that could be put into the sales and marketing. And I wonder, to you, what is the most important thing when you're looking at the future? Is it the sales and marketing, the brand name, or is it going to be the research and development, or is it going to be about your global outreach? What exactly is it to you?
In fact, we and Alibaba are on different tracks. Their track is the market, while our track is developing the products. So our products are private brand pieces. For example, with NetEase strictly selected, the competition between us is not direct.
When it comes to the other thing, competition or cooperation, I understand NetEase Music has been working with Alibaba Music, and you got the IPR swap, which means things available on your platform could be available on their platform as well. So how big an advantage will this for your future development? Can you still be competitive in that field? I understand you're very competitive in NetEase Music compared to the other platforms when it comes to music itself. And you yourself is a music lover.
I think the competition in the music platform is not based solely on copyright.
So what is it about?
It is relying on innovation, allowing users to have a feeling when listening to music. It's that there's more to music on this platform. It is beyond music. We cannot treat music as a simple play. It should be used as a tool of emotion. Lots of people may feel emotions when they listen on the NetEase cloud music, and then it resonates with them.
That is Ding Lei. It came as a surprise when he, the founder and CEO of NetEase.com, branched out into pork production in the year 2009. Initially, many people thought raising pigs was a gimmick. They think Ding is not serious about this business, but the new pig farm system proved to be a success that changed the people's minds. Why raise pigs? Ding confessed the reason is entrepreneurial spirit. He's on a mission to modernize so-called backward industries through technology and innovation, and that gets him fascinated. Everybody knows about your raising the pigs.
Oh yeah, I have a pig farm, huge.
A huge pig farm. How big is it?
This time we have 20,000 pigs, but after 3 years, every year we have provided 1 million pigs to market.
So when it comes to Ding Lei, people always say games, pigs, and music.
No. Why I will invest more resources in pigs? You know, in China every year we need 600 million pigs as a pork. Yeah, but you never know, many people never know the traditional pigs farm is very dirty and unbelievable. So I want to use my resource, technology, innovation, proves pig farm systems. So we spent 7 years to research the global pig farms and design new model pig farms for local China. So I think this is a very successful project for China 农民的 farmers.
Yeah, it's an innovation that the farmers could share.
I think
the very important thing is we as entrepreneurs should have an idea that through technology and innovation we can help backward industries achieve development. One person can't handle a big pig farm. It needs an organization and enough patience. Although we spent 7 years raising pigs, the result is satisfactory. First, pork is very tasty. Second, pork is very safe. Third, the cost is not too high, only about 20% or 30% higher than traditional pig raising. There is hardly any pollution to the environment, so I'm very proud.
Have you ever talked to the real local farmers about your way of raising the pigs? How do they respond to you?
At the beginning, many people think that raising pigs is a gimmick. They think we just play. But after they watched our system, they're all thumbs up. Now farmers are not raising pigs as they were in the past. Raising pigs is collectivized and small scale. However, the level of raising is relatively low. Our system has many innovations. For example, we don't feed hormones to our pigs, and we don't give them injections and medicine.
I think it's great pleasure talking to you during the 2 sessions. And I do wonder, before we go, what drives you?
Love.
Really?
Yeah,
because you love life and love the country. Of course, only when my life is built on the cultural tradition of this country will I have ideas to improve my country. I did open classes because I have a similar studying experience. I think the unfairness of educational resources has wasted much of my time. It was very painful for me to study. Now I have the opportunity to do it well. Why not? When I was in college, I was the happiest. I completed my university courses in just 3 years. I also took a lot of minor courses. And my minor and required courses scores are very high. I'm very happy because I have a strong thirst for knowledge.
You do have a lot of negative energy in the society too. How could you, in a way, President Ding, when you wake up in the morning, still be energized no matter what, and always have that love, as you said, for the things you care and for the people that you care?
Many people in the world complain every day. Sometimes I understand them, but sometimes I wonder why they don't do anything about it. Many people come to big cities and complain about traffic jams, the crowded subway, and poor air quality. Well, why not go home? If you don't go home, you can use your own abilities to make a difference. Use your local resources to do your own thing. Even selling tea eggs and pancakes can be done well.
Please let us know about the proposals you are making for this year's 2 sessions, very briefly.
The first one is related to education. The government must strengthen the development of children's education resources. The audiobooks children can hear now are few. The second is to make full use of modern education methods to educate through the internet. Because China's education resource allocation is uneven, mainly concentrated in big cities. The quality of teachers in remote areas is not as good as that of big cities. Now, the Internet provides such a means for teachers to teach in the city. Through the Internet, students in rural areas can attend classes at any time. Local teachers can help students in the form of teaching assistants. There are also some extensions of educational technology, such as brain science. We can now quickly know whether students are focused on class or not. So I suggest that our country's education department should begin to pay attention to the application of educational technology, and also raise the quality of educational content by developing a bunch of fun education-related games. The third proposal is related to healthcare. The calorie, sugar, and salt content in food are unclear in China. If you are not careful about this, you'll get in trouble. I know that very much. I come from Ningbo, where people love salt. One day, I was told that I had mild hypertension. I was scared. My friends just made fun of me, saying that I eat more salt. Last year, about 4 million people died of cardiovascular diseases. So I hope that our government make manufacturers clearly label high sugar, high salt, and high calorie products. In Denmark, eating sugar is taxed at 50%, just like cigarettes. They think that sugar is one of the most harmful substances in the last century.
I'm looking forward to you're telling me at the end of the day, the 2 sessions, how your proposal has been going. I hope they will come into the policy.
I hope that my proposal will be supported. The most important thing is to have a positive effect on people's livelihood, education, and health.
Congratulations once again, Ding Lei, for your first year as CPPCC member. And keep that love in your heart, as you just said. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. Really appreciate it. That is Ding Lei, CPPCC member and founder and CEO of NetEase.com. Well, it's only a few days to go before we wrap up the CPPCC session. I hope to meet him again and see how the suggestions have been doing so far. And that is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us Worldly Inside CGTN into your search engine, or check out our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Sina Weibo. From me, Tian Wei, and everyone on the Worldly Inside team, thanks for watching. Tune in again next time for insights across China and around the world. Good night.